Hello, sweet friends. This is Tracy. Welcome to today's video. I am sharing a couple of mixed media pumpkin projects. I love to share crafty ideas with a bit of rustic country charm. So here's my take on a couple of mixed media projects for you. If you're returning, welcome back. If you're new here, please consider subscribing to my channel because I love to share crafty ideas with a bit of rustic country charm, just like today's projects. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get started and let me share my mixed media projects. All right, for these square pumpkins fall decor, these turned out so cute. I used some canvases, some rectangle canvases, as well as just some different fun embellishments. So let me share what I did. The canvases that I'm using two 8x10 canvases. One I just turned sideways. The other is an 11x14 canvas that we're going to make these square pumpkins.
Okay, these are the papers that I selected. I wanted something that was a little bit bright and not real, because I'm going to distress them myself with some ink and, markers and all that, what I like to do. So I am just kind of figuring out where I'm going to put the papers. I'm going to line them up where the circles match. I don't have a big enough sheet of paper because these papers are 12x12, so I'm just going to line them up. And once I embellish them by inking and putting markers and gluing all the embellishments, it really is okay.
Okay, here I just have some decoupage or Mod Podge, and I just put that on the 11x14 canvas. And since I'm using two of these 12x12 sheets of paper. Now, this particular paper I did have in my stash. It was part of a large bundle of paper that I got years ago at Hobby Lobby. And so, this is just ideas. You can if you would like to recreate this, just use the paper that matches your style. So here I'm just kind of, trying to figure out, okay, how do I need the circles so that they line up? I'm okay if they have a little crinkles in them because I think that adds to the character of the pumpkins because my projects and my crafts are usually country. And so I'm just using, like I said, some decoupage, some Mod Podge. It's kind of the same thing. It's just a glue that holds down the paper. I'm just using my Cricut spatula just to smooth everything down, and then I'm going to work on this one. This orange paper, it was a little bit brighter. I was looking for something, just a little different than my normal, and so I like this paper and all these patterns. I think it looks really pretty, and just all ties in together with all the embellishments and everything. So I'll just keep going around using my decoupage, Mod Podge, and just smoothing all of that on, and just cutting the paper, kind of wrapping it like you do a present or a gift. For the stems of my pumpkins, I am using small, just scrap wood. Now, I've had these in my stash for several years. When my husband and I were doing wood crafts, we were doing the craft show circuit. He would cut out my wood, and then we would have, extra boards and that kind of thing. And so he was awesome and would just cut them into little pieces like this, and so that I could, paint on them, or use them for little different things for my projects. So I'm just giving this a coat of a brown acrylic paint, and this is going to be the stem of my pumpkins. They're going to, I'm just going to attach them with just some glue, and then I'm going to put my embellishments on and everything like that. So now my canvases are all dry, and I'm just kind of positioning, trying to see how I want to, what collection that I want them to be in. And so then what I'm going to use, I'm using some mixed media projects or products. They're like in the scrapbooking section. All of these are going to be linked in my Amazon store. Now, these are called Gesso. They're just like a paste that, that can distress your projects. Now, I am just sharing some things that I have for my mixed media when I like to do this. And so the Gesso, like I said, is a paste. It kind of, you can wet it with your fingers, or I can wet it with my fingers to kind of blend it in a little bit, just to give a bit of distressing to my pumpkins and to kind of countrify them just a little bit. And so that's why I wanted to use the brighter paper, because I knew that I was going to use some of this distressing paste and markers and different sprays and things like that. Now, if you're interested in where you can find these type of things, they're usually found in the scrapbooking section of like Hobby Lobby or Michael's, or as I mentioned, they are linked in my Amazon store if you would like to get a little bit more information, because some of these things have been around for a couple of years, and I love using them. Now, to expose the wood just a little, I'm just using my sanding block and just exposing a bit of the wood. I use my tack cloth to wipe off any of the dust particles. Then I like to give my projects a gloss sealer. This is the one that I like the most. So I just give all of my stems, or each of my stems, as well as go around the canvases, and it kind of just seals everything in, and I don't have to worry about it coming up or anything like that. Okay, to attach the stem to the top of the canvas, to make it look like the pumpkin stem, I'm using a combination of E6000 glue as well as hot glue. The E6000 is the permanent hold, and then the hot glue kind of gives it the instant hold. So I'm just, going to do this to all three of my pumpkins. And like I said, I use that 2 8.5s by 11 canvas. And so then by turning them different ways, one sideways, then that gives me a different look. And so then now I'm just, gluing all of my pumpkins together. I'm just using my E6000 as well as my hot glue. I'm also going to be using my electric staple gun. Now, I have had that staple gun. I got it at Sears many years ago. I know that maybe other places has electric staple guns. If not, you can use a manual gun or attach it, if you want to recreate this project, you can, secure it any way that you can, secure your projects. Okay, at this point, I'm like, it's missing something. So I had forgotten to put the curves or the ridges of the pumpkins, but that's not a problem. I'm just taking my brown Gesso and just making the curves of the pumpkins. If you were to recreate this, I would suggest doing this before you attach them all together and not make the error like I did. But hey, it all works, and we are good. And so what I do is I wet my finger and just, because it gives it a distressed look, and then it's all, kind of blends in together there. Okay, then now I'm going to use my fine Sharpie marker, and then I just go around each of the pumpkins just to give some extra doodling, because guys, that's what I like to do. Thank you so much for all of your sweet comments. Welcome anyone who's new. If you're not already subscribed to my channel, I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel. I love to share crafty ideas with a bit of rustic country charm, just like these rustic square pumpkins. Okay, this is an ivy garland that I got maybe Hobby Lobby, at one of the craft stores. I had it in my stash. And so I like this, it has like some wire in it so that I can form it a bit. And I like using these type of different textures on my projects because it does give it a realistic feel. And so I'm just using my wire cutters just to cut off pieces of them. And then I will like twist it around my fingers just to kind of look like it's more cascading down, like what leaves on a pumpkin would look like. And so then I'm going to use my staple gun as well, and just make sure that I staple the ivy to the wood frame so that it all, secures together. Now I'm going to make my bow, my junk bow, messy bow, refab bow, whatever one chooses to call it. And I just have some different strips of fabric, some muslin fabric in different colors, as well as some polka dotted orange ribbon. I'm sure I got that at Hobby Lobby. I'm also using strips of orange rickrack. You can also get that at the craft store. And so then I was singeing the edges of the rickrack so that it would not fray. And then this small 1-inch burlap I've had in my stash for a couple of years. And, I'm not quite sure where I got that one from. About here, I'm like, it needs a little something. So I pulled out some tool. It's like a glittery tool, but the glitter doesn't come off. And I think I got this at Hobby Lobby as well, or maybe Walmart, something like that. And I just cut off strips of that, and I decided to add it to my bow to provide a bit of softness to my bow. I think I just love working with all these different textures of ribbon and different just different mediums that all work together and just make the project so cute. Okay, I just fluffed out my bows a bit, just making sure that none of my ribbon tails were tucked underneath there. Then I used, hot glue and my staple gun just to attach the bows to the wooden frame as well so that everything's nice and secure.
Okay, now I'm going to add some Stiffen Quick. It is a stiffener for ribbon and or for fabric or anything, but I like to use this on my bows that are ribbon, or like this fabric is a little limp, and so that it kind of gives it some formation, and I really like the way that turns out.
I didn't put a hanger or anything like that, but one could, totally do that. I just set them on my shelf and just lean them up against my mirror. Anyway, I love the way that these turned out, and I hope you do as well. Everything is so nice and fun and funky and country. Okay, for this project, I'm using a 12 by 12 canvas, and it is a mixed media pumpkin project. Now, this 12 by 12 canvas, I get my canvases at Michael's, I do believe. And I picked up some patterns that were at my thrift store. And I like to use patterns and stuff like this, all different kind of textures when you're doing a mixed media project. I'm using my decoupage or Mod Podge, that kind of thing. And I just, put the pattern across the canvas, and then I just glue it all down so that all the sides and everything were covered as well. I'll just go over it with that decoupage. And then I just have just some pieces of just from an old book, and I crumple them up and I tear them, and I'm just going to ink around them to give it some depth and dimension. That is really what mixed media is. You can use all kind of different paper products, different kind of scrapbook paper and everything like that. This just really is a piece of art just by the different textures and different things that you use. I'm just using my little heat tool in between the different layers to dry the glue as much as I could. When you're using mixed media, there's lots of different products that you can use. This right here, this white stuff is called Gesso or Gesso. I'm not really sure. And I don't know, it just kind of adds just different texture. And then I had this stencil in my stash. You can get stencils at, the craft store and different, on Amazon, that kind of thing. And then I just use my Stays On ink just to provide just some different patterns of stamps, and the distress ink as well as different stamps. Now I get my stamps and different things from the craft store. Always look in the clearance section, because sometimes you can find some really cool different stamps. Anyway, okay, so then now I'm using this Gesso, and as I mentioned in my in the other pumpkin project, you can find these Gessos in my Amazon store. I'm not quite sure if they sell them in the craft store. I have never really looked, because I purchased mine off of Amazon. And so then I'll just go around the different torn edges, just wetting my finger to blend it in a bit. And then I'm using some distress spray. You can also get that at the craft store. And you can just find everything in the scrapbooking section. That is where you're going to find the majority of the products that I am using in these projects. Okay, so here I'm using just a small stencil, and then I'm using my palette knife as well as some texture paste, because I am just going around it, and it gives it some dimension. And I just use my palette knife just to, spread it on the stencil, just to give it just different. Every piece is always different when you're doing a mixed media. Here I'm going to use my orange Gesso and just going over where the textured paste is, and then it is I just use my finger just to spread it out and blend it in a bit. And then it was just a little bright, so I just took a baby wipe and just kind of rubbed off some of the color so that it wouldn't be quite as bright. And then I just sprayed on some more distress ink. Now here, this is my pumpkin, and I'm sure I just I don't even know where I got this design. I probably just had a pumpkin. Maybe I designed it on my Cricut. I'm not really sure. It was something that I had in my stash. And so I'm not quite sure where I got, but you can get pumpkin patterns anywhere. And so then I'm just going around the edges, just giving it some inking and some distressing. And so I just kind of layer it all in there together, and just decoupage it all down, or Mod Podge would work as well. These zigzag chevron shapes are something that I cut out on my Cricut. There's different designs that you can get, in Design Space. And so then I just decoupaged, Mod Podge those down as well. And so then now to give it a bit more distress, I'm using my Faber Castell markers. And if you watch anyone that does mixed media, sometimes they will use this. You can kind of blend them a bit more with your fingers. That's what I'm doing. Now, I am not a mixed media artist. This is just, projects that I wanted to try, and that's what I'm doing. So I'm just kind of sharing my projects, but I am by no means a mixed media artist. And so I just, by watching other mixed media videos and just, looking at mixed media art, these are the kind of things that they do. You can just make beautiful, beautiful projects just by adding all of the different layers. Basically, that's what it is, just adding different layers. So then now I'm just painting on some leaves and some tendrils of my pumpkins just to give it a little bit more realistic look. Now I'm going to work on the message that I want for my board. And so I just am hand lettering happy fall, y'all. And I'll do my little happy dots and my doodles and that kind of thing. I'm just cutting it apart, and then I'll tear it because I like the torn edges. I think that it, kind of all ties everything together in this mixed media project. Now, I like to do this because that's my look, and I appreciate so many kind friends saying that they, like my style of lettering. I have found a free font that is the most realistic to my lettering. My lettering is all different. I know people have asked about, providing that, but it depends on what word I'm writing, depends on the letters and everything. So it is called Gel Dotica font. I will have it linked for you in the description below. You can, maybe print it out and on different colors of cardstock, and then you can use it for your project. I used my white Faber Castell marker to add some highlight to the letters, and I think it just ties everything together. I'm using some glossy accents, just this glossy accents that I picked up in the scrapbooking section as well, and I just glued that down. That just, I don't really know, I can't remember why I used that, but I saw a lot of other mixed media artists use that, so that's what I use. Anyway, so then now I'm just putting some black slick paint just to give it a bit more dimension, and I just love the way that this little pumpkin mixed media project turned out, and I hope you do too. Guys, at the end of the video I will link to a couple of other mixed media projects that I have done here on my channel, and anyway, let me know if this is something that you would like to see again, if you would like me to do more mixed media projects. All right, guys, thank you all for watching. I appreciate you all so much. Thank you for your sweet and kind comments, for liking the video, for subscribing to my channel. We'll talk to you all very soon. God bless.